in this lecture, let's see some more options that we can try with the arc generator function to configure our circle, annulus or sections of circle or annulus. So we have already seen how to use the arc generator function in the previous lecture. We need to use the arc method, and then we have to specify inner radius, outer radius, start angle and end angle. So this is the same code that we have written in the previous lecture, and this is the output. So let me remove this circle and half circle and also this section. So now we have only the SVG. Suppose we want to display a circle with different sections or an annulus with different sections. So it will look something like a pie chart having different sections in the same circle. So suppose we want to visualize something like a pie chart. So how we can do that? We need to have start angle and end angle for different sections, right? So let me specify where data equals. Within this, I'm going to specify the start angle and end angle, and I'm specifying inner radius and outer radius as common values. So within this, suppose I want to have 5 sections. So I'm specifying 5 objects here. 3, 4 and 5. Okay. So for each of these, let me specify start angle as 0 and end angle as say 1.5. Why I am specifying 1.5? If you remember, we need to specify the values in radians, and the value of full angle in radians will be 2 into math.pi. This is the value, which is 2 into 3.14. So we can specify from 0 to 6.28. That is full angle. If we convert it into a number, it will be 6.28 something. So instead of specifying 2 into math.pi or math.pi, we can even specify numbers. If you want to have a full circle with different sections, we can have the numbers between 0 and 6.28. Okay. So here I have specified start angle as 0 and end angle as 1.5. Then for the next one, we need to specify the start angle as 1.5, right? So let me copy this and paste it here and specify start angle as this value, that is 1.5, and let me specify the end angle as say 3.4. Okay. Then let me have another one. Let me paste it again. And for this, the start angle should be 3.4 and the end angle, let me specify it as 4.2. Then again, within this, let me paste it. And for this, let me specify the start angle as 4.2 and the end angle as say 5.9. And then the last one. And for this, the start angle is 5.9 and the end angle should be specified as 6.28. Hope you understand this. This is actually some mathematical calculations. As the value of math.pi is 3.14, we are multiplying by 2 means it will be 6.28, which will give us a full circle. So we are specifying different start angle and end angle values within the data array. So let me specify this as 6.28. Now we need to use this data along with the arc generator function to create our segments within the circle. So let me specify where segments, you can name it as you want, d3.arc, and let me just set the inner radius and outer radius. Okay. So let me set the inner radius as say 30 or 25, and let me set the outer radius as 125. Next, what we need to do? We have to use the path. So here we cannot just use one path. Why? Because for this we need one path, for this we need one path, for this we need one path, for this one, and for this another path. So we will have to use multiple paths. So first let me specify SVG dot, let me first append a G element and let me transform it. So attr transform, then let me specify translate say 300 comma 300. I'm just specifying some values because Here I have specified the outer radius as 125, which means a space of 250 will be required, right? Then what should we do? We have to specify append path and then ATTRD, but in this case we need multiple paths. Hope you understand what I am trying to say. Instead of having one path with start angle and end angle as these values, we need to have multiple paths. So for the first path, the start angle will be 0 and the end angle will be 1.5. Next path 1.5 and 3.4, and it will go like that. So how I can specify that? Instead of specifying append path, I can specify select all. What should be selected? It should be path. Next, what we need to do? We need to join the data, and the data is there in the data variable, right? So I can specify data. So let me name it as a variable here where say sections. Okay. Then what should we do? We have joined the data here. Then we have to use the enter selection to append the required number of path elements. So here let me specify sections dot enter dot append path. So there will be 5 paths, and then what we need to do? We need to specify the D attribute, right? So dot ATTR D, which is defined in segments, right? We have used the segments as the arc generator functions variable. So segments, and then we can actually style it if we want. So ATTR fill as, suppose I specify gray. Now let's see the output. Let me save this. See, we are seeing different sections. In fact, if you just look at this closely, you could see a very thin line that separates the sections. So here you could see that the first one, second one, third, fourth and fifth one. So these are the sections, but we are not able to identify them clearly, or the line that is separating these sections are not clear enough. So here by just specifying start angle and end angle for different sections, we could divide our circle into different sections, but these sections are not now clearly visible. So to see them clearly, we can actually use 2 additional properties. They are pad angle and pad radius. So when we specify 2 values for pad angle and pad radius, what happens is that these 2 values will be multiplied, and that will be considered as the padding between different sections. So here after inner radius and outer radius, let me specify dot pad angle as say 0.05, and let me also specify pad radius as say 50. So here what will happen is that 50 into 0.05 will be calculated, which is 2.5, right? 50 into 0.05 is 5 into 0.5, which is 2.5, and that will be the space or the padding between different sections. Let me save this and show you. See, now we are seeing different sections clearly, right? These are the different sections we have added. And suppose I increase the value. Instead of 50, if I make it 100, then the gap will be more. See, now there is more gap between the sections. So as I specify different values for pad angle and pad radius, these 2 values will be multiplied and it will be considered as the padding between different sections. So these are the 2 values we need to use if we want to display different sections in our circle or annulus. Here it is an annulus in fact. Why? Because we have specified inner radius as greater than 0. That is, inner radius is 25. Suppose I increase this to 50 and save this. See, now the inner radius became more. So you can use the pad angle and pad radius values to decide the spacing between different sections. Let me make this 25 itself, or 20, and change this to 50 and show you. Save. See, this is the segments. Now we can have one more value, that is corner radius. If you want to have some rounded corners here, here, here and here, then you can use corner radius. You might have used border radius in CSS. It is used to add rounded corners for our shapes. So like that we can have corner radius. So let me show you that as well. Corner radius, and let me set it as say 5. Let me save this and show you. See, you could see these corners are now slightly rounded, right? Even here they are slightly rounded. So if you increase the value, you could see the change. Let me make it 10 and see. Now they are more rounded. That is, the corners are now more rounded. So by specifying corner radius, you can actually add rounded corners for the circles or annulus. Here it is 4 now. So in this lecture we have seen how to add different segments for the same circle, that is something like a pie chart, and we have also seen 3 more options like pad angle, pad radius and corner radius. So to make different segments, we actually used d3.arc, which is the arc generator function, and specified inner radius and outer radius as common values, and then we have specified separate start angles and end angles for different segments, and then here we have specified select all path, which means multiple paths will be selected, and we have joined the data with this, which is this one, and later we have added enter append path, which means 5 path elements will be added, and for each path we have set the D as segments, that is the data generated by the arc generator function. And finally we have also seen how to use pad angle and pad radius to decide the padding or spacing between different segments, and also corner radius to add rounded corners for the segments. Now we have one more option, that is centroid, which decides the center of a section or a segment, and it is very useful when it comes to adding some text or label for different sections. So we will see how to use the centroid function in the next lecture.